I'm not a crazy person. I'm a school teacher and a high school wrestling coach. My neck on the left-hand side was just burning so bad. I was like, what in the world? What happened to me? I started hearing footsteps, and the next thing I know, that little entity is standing right over me. And in that selfie, you can see a picture of this entity that looks like a little boy. Appreciate you inviting me on. I think I got some unique experiences that I have to share that hopefully the viewers out there can relate to in some way or another. I'm not a crazy person. I'm a school teacher and a high school wrestling coach. And I'm a busy person, especially this time of year. In fact, I just had a big 2-day tournament in Havelock that we had yesterday and day before. So today's actually a good time, and I'm wore out, but I'm here. So here we are.
Maybe we could take a few steps back, because you mentioned you were you're a teacher and a coach. But when did you where did you grow up, and maybe when did you kind of know that that's maybe what you wanted to do, and that's kind of the direction you wanted to take?
Well, my mom had 7 kids, and I was born in Sacramento, California. Lived there till I was 7. One day she said, get in the car. 3 days later, we were in Alaska. Lived in Alaska for 2 years. Then moved from Alaska to North Carolina when I was 9. This is where my mom is from. And been here pretty much ever since, other than when I was in undergraduate school at Carson Newman College and graduate school at the University of Arkansas. This is where I've been pretty much ever since. Got into teaching.
Whoop. Think we lost him.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's
I touched my screen. I forgot I got a touch screen.
Yeah.
Computer here.
Well, we're as easy as you left, you're back in. So that's the beauty of it.
But anyway, moved here when I was 9 and been here ever since, and got into teaching because, having grown up without a father, Harold Smith became my father, and I just wanted to be Harold Smith one day, helping troubled kids in high school like he did for me. And that's what I've been doing there for a long time. 25 years or so.
Now, where do you coach exactly? It's in North Carolina, right?
Yes, Eastern Guilford High School in North Carolina. I've been there for 5 years now.
Okay, awesome. And how did you guys do this in this past tournament? I think you said you had a tournament.
Yeah, we won the tournament.
Wow.
It was a dual tournament. We won 8 matches and finished first. So yeah, my teams do well typically because we put a lot of time and work into it. So the big wins are all these things are pop quizzes. We're waiting for the main test to come in February.
Well, they must have a good coach. So
I appreciate it.
Have you kind of been into the paranormal or scary things at all, or is it just kind of a side thing? Like, is it an interest or not so much? Just sort of experiences and stories that you've had or heard?
I wouldn't say it's an interest because I get scared.
Sure. Yeah, I do too.
I'm too scared to be interested in it, pursuing it. I do watch some of the videos of some of these ghost hunters and all that, and on YouTube and I'm a man. They're courageous people. There's no way I would do any of that stuff. So I'm not. It's not an interest, but it just happenstance. It happens from time to time, and I think pretty much everybody at some form of experience or another have encountered some form of paranormal activity. Now, whether or not they accept it for being that is entirely different. But
Sure.
but I've seen a ghost. I know that for a fact. I have had an entity of some kind that was in my house for a while.
Oh, wow.
Um,
We didn't talk about that before, so that's
yeah,
interesting.
actually, that's
Okay.
what I thought you were getting to, because that was I thought we were going to talk about that, and we can. So I've had some run-ins with the paranormal, and it really freaks me out. And I have to hide under the covers. I'm this big guy, but really, I guess when it comes to that, I'm a wimp. But
That's
no, it's
probably being
just,
smart. I don't think it's
yeah, it's
being a
probably
wimp.
just
So
a happenstance. And I read a book in 1999 that involved Ed and Lorraine Warren,
right. Yep.
And I read some comments by Ed. When he and his comments were essentially, the people that think that religion is a fairy tale are wrong. It's real, and
Right.
there are demons out there. And just because you don't believe doesn't mean you're not possibly affected by it. And just, kind of like, wow, so, but anyway, yeah. So I've had experiences, and yeah, it scares me too much to be interested in it.
No, I get that. I think I'm the same way. It's I mean, it's an interest to the point to where I'll watch things and talk to people about it, but if I was to go on like an investigation or do anything like that, I don't think I would.
No,
I don't think I would be the person for that.
not happening.
I'll talk to people who do them, but
Mhm.
that's probably about it. But no, I'm probably right there in your seat there.
When you're a kid, you see things,
Sure.
and you don't, so it's hard to know whether or not the things that I remember seeing as a kid, if they have any bearing on what I, as an adult, would have deciphered it to be,
Right.
But as an adult, yes, it's really an ironic experience, because it encompasses a couple of different um, interactions that I had. There was one night. This first one I'm going to talk about
Sure.
is the entity that was in my house for a while. One night I was at this bar, was hanging out with some friends, and it was probably about 6 months after one of my friends had died.
Hmm.
And there was this woman that was in the bar that I thought was really good looking. And I noticed her, and after about 5 minutes, she walked out the door to leave. Well, I got up and ran out the door because I wanted to at least say hi, introduce myself. And so while I'm standing there, and I said, I'd say, hey, you here with somebody, whatever? And she goes, yeah, we're leaving. I said, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, nice to meet you. And as I'm leaving, the guy she's with comes out the door, and he grabs my hand, or he reaches out to shake my hand. And I introduced him. I say, hey, man, you got a pretty girl. He said, thank you. And he grabs my hand, and he just squeezed my hand. And I was like, what are you doing? And his girlfriend spoke up, and she said, he's a palm reader. He's going to read your palm. And I said, okay.
Hmm.
And so, I'm like, whatever. And he said, you have a guardian angel standing over you. And I said, okay. And he said, wherever you go, this guardian angel's with you everywhere. And I said, okay. And that was pretty much it. And then he shook my friend Juan's hand. And Juan's aunt had died maybe a month before. And in shaking Juan's hand, he said, you just had a relative that died that cooked you pancakes all the time. He goes, yes, I did. And he said, she told me to tell you she's fine.
Oh, wow.
And and we had just met this guy.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm like, I was like, whoa, you know, and Juan was really kind of shaken up about it because, you know, there was no way this guy knew anything about either one of us. And for him to have that information, it was just really kind of, wow, you know. So fast forward a couple years, I'm in my house.
And I'm sorry, Maurice, was this in North Carolina still?
Yes, this is
Okay,
in
this
North
was
Carolina. Yeah.
gotcha.
Um, and I have dogs, a couple dogs, and they would be barking at nothing. I mean, and be in a defensive posture. And I'm like, what are you barking at? What are you barking at? And there were times when they would be in the kitchen eating and they would stop eating and look at the door. And I'm like, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? And then other times they would just start screaming, you know, I mean, it was just odd, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the world's going on? And it happened several times. And then one morning I was sleeping in and it was like somebody was standing right over my bed and I heard Maurice. And at that time, my brother Andy was living with me. And I jumped up out of bed and I said, yeah, man, what's up? Because I thought it was him. And I'm walking through the house. Hey, man, what did you call me? Nobody here. There was nobody home. And I thought, what in the world? So I thought, I was just dreaming. You know, maybe it was just a dream. And so a couple of days later, I'm at the sink in my bathroom. I always sleep with my door closed. I'm at the sink, my bathroom, and I'm shaving, and my bedroom door just opens up. And you talk about freaking me out. I turn around, and at this time, I got to tell you, my brother was out of town. He was in Germany. Okay. I come walking out toward the door as it's still wide, you know, coming open, and there's nobody there. And I go walking into the house. It was really kind of weird because I'm naked and I got this razor in my hand and I got all this shaving cream on my face and I'm walking, turning on lights and there's nobody here. And my door just opened up by itself. I'm like, what in the world? That freaked me out.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. And so it was just little odds and ends like that. And then one day I'm at that same bar where I met that prior psychic, only now we're a few years in later. And I meet this girl who's married to a guy I work with. And because a bunch of the teachers that I worked with at that time got together on a Saturday night at this bar just to hang out. And so I meet this girl that's married to my friend. And she said, hey, I want to talk to you about something. I said, okay. She said, I'm a medium and you have a guardian angel following you around everywhere you go. That's exactly what she said. And I said, what? Why do you, I said, you're the second person that's told me that. She said, I can't tell you who it is. She said, but it's a female and she's related to you. She said, if my mom was here, she could tell you everything because she's so much better at it than me. But she said, I can sense it. She said, I need to come to your house. She said, I bet there's things happening at your house. And I said, yes, there are things happening at my house. And she said,
Wow.
I'm telling you, there's something going on. I need to come to your house. So I said, okay. So 3 or 4 months later, I have a cookout here. She comes to my house. She starts walking through my house while everybody else is outside. And then she calls me in. And she said, you definitely have a presence here. She said, but it's not an evil presence. It is a presence of protection. And this person is trying to give you a warning because there's somebody, she said, I think there's somebody in your life that she's trying to warn you about. She said, let me ask you a question. Has there ever been something that you use regularly that comes up missing and then miraculously it just appears? And I said, yes, the stop to my sink when I shave. 3 or 4 different times. I would use it. I take it out. I put it by the sink. 3 or 4 different times, it was gone. And I would walk through the house looking for it, ask my brother if he had it. He hadn't seen it. And then a couple of days later, it's sitting right there by the sink.
That's interesting.
That's what I told her. And she said, yeah, she said, that's her way of warning you about something. And it was ironic that the first time that my door opened, I was shaving. And then she's using this stop as some form of, mechanism, but to tell me, to forewarn me about something. And so there was a couple more, experiences, nothing major. But then eventually that just went away. And so I have a theory on why that is, but I don't want to share it in case that person watches this video.
Okay.
But,
no,
yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah. So, but that was the story of the entity in my place, and it went on for about, off and on, in a non-threatening way. I'd say 2.5 or 3 years.
Wow. And how long has it been since the last?
Probably 10 years.
Okay, so this was about 10 years ago. Okay.
I'd say up until the first time it happened, I would say it was in like 2009 or 2010, and it stopped around, I'd say 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's, and you mentioned when you heard that voice kind of wake you up, you mentioned that you saw someone standing over your bed.
No,
is that right?
No. It was almost like there was somebody standing over me. The way as loud as it was, I thought that when I woke up, I thought somebody was going to be standing right there over my bed.
Okay.
There's a Maurice, and it was a male's voice. It wasn't a female voice. It was a male voice. And I woke up. I was like, what? And so now I'm thinking it was Andy called me from across the trailer. I jump up, open the door, I walk through, and he's nobody here.
Wow.
Man, it freaked me out, man. What in the world? I know I heard that.
That would be creepy. I wonder if that's connected. Do you think that's connected to the guardian angel that the two palm readers?
Maybe. It's possible. At that time I had not been diagnosed with sleep apnea. And I have since been diagnosed with sleep apnea, and sleep apnea can be dangerous. And perhaps I was sleeping in a manner that was unsafe, and maybe they were doing that to wake me up. Right. I don't know, but it woke me up. That's for sure.
As it would me, I can guarantee you that. Yeah. No, that's creepy for sure.
So that was my real first personal experience where I was directly affected or impacted somewhat by the paranormal. So one of my former wrestlers was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And he used to call me, and from time to time, and we would talk, and he told me that he has this ghost in his house. And I'm like, all right, whatever, man. And I don't like talking about that because in the readings that I've read about paranormal activity, like Ed Warren, in particular, said that ghosts can hear you talking about them wherever they are located. They don't have to be nearby. They can, if they're across the world, they can hear you. I'm like, wow,
boy.
Yeah, and so he told me that he had a ghost in his house. And I'm like, yeah, man, well, all right, whatever, man. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, when I got a ghost in my house, he said that he'd hear footsteps run across the top of his trailer, and that his kids would come knocking on the door because somebody was whispering in their ear or laughing in their ear, and so he had door, and his bedroom was one of those kinds of doors because he lived in a mobile home. It was an older mobile home. It was one of those kind of doors that you had to lift up on the handle to get it to latch.
Okay.
you know, and then you had to do that same thing to get it to unlatch. And his kids were so young they couldn't do that, and so there would be times when he would wake up from bed and the door to his bedroom would be wide open, and he was like, "Wow, how in the world did that happen?"
Yeah.
And then he said there was a time or two when him and his wife were making love, and something in the bed would start snickering at him, and that's when he realized, oh, there's something going on here. And so, give you all that as a background.
Yeah.
Lane,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Like how
but
the snickering, like did he mention like how loud it was? Was it
it was like a little giggle, like a little kid giggle while him and his wife are engaged in what they're doing.
in there? Yeah.
It's like they're just
Obviously loud enough to break
yes,
that up and
yeah.
be
Well, at
like,
first they thought it was one of their kids,
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
but then he realized the kids were at school.
Right. Right.
And there was nobody else in the room, and they both heard it, and so obviously they were freaked out by it, and they had all kinds of experiences, and it got to the point where his wife was gave the little guy a name. She called him Carlito, but anyway, so was fighting in the all army combatives down in Texas, down at Fort Hood, Texas. And me and a couple of friends decided we were going to go down there and watch him. So we go down to watch him. And while we're down there, he shows up after the first day of the event is over, and we're all eating food at this restaurant. And all he wants to talk about is this ghost in his house. I'm like, what in the world, man? I don't want to talk about this stuff, man. And he said, I want you to show you this picture. And by this time, him and his wife had a baby who was one. He was 1 year old, and he took a selfie of himself playing with the phone. And in that selfie, you can see a picture of this entity that looks like a little boy. And he said, do you think that's a thumbprint? I said, no, that's not a thumb. That is a face. You can see the eyes, you can see the nose, you can see the mouth, you can see the hair. That's a little kid. That's the little thing you've been talking about that's in your house. He's like, no, man, I don't want, no, man, no. So he's trying to deny it, but it's plainly obvious that you can see it in that picture. And so we just keep talking about this stuff, and so later on that road trip, we leave there. I drive up through Nevada up to Washington, back down, and so we stop at Lane's house just to sleep up before finishing our ride home.
Right.
Okay. And we get to his house at probably 11 o'clock at night, and we sit up and talk until 2 o'clock in the morning. And all we're talking about is that ghost. And I'm like, man, how am I going to be able to sleep? And starts telling me that's his wife at the time, that the first encounter she ever had with the ghost was the cry of a baby. Oh, okay. So
wow.
Whatever. So anyway, we end up going to bed. And so the three guys that I'm with, Lane's got this C-shaped couch. One guy's laying here, one guy's laying here, one guy's laying here. I'm on the floor. Okay. We're in this 2-bedroom, 1-bath trailer that's got a bedroom on the far side, kitchen, living room, little hallway, bathroom, bedroom. Okay. And it takes 10 paces and you've walked it. It's a really small place. Okay.
Right.
And so I'm stretched out on the floor, and at about, I'd say 2:30, all the lights are out. These guys are already asleep. I'm having a hard time sleeping, and I hear the faintest sound of a baby crying. I mean, just wah, wah, and I'm like, am I hearing a baby cry?
Oh.
And it happened like 3 times. Just wah, 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 and then it stopped. And I was like, man, no, that's my head playing with me because that's what said, And I'm just thinking, nah, man, it's nothing. So I go to doze off. I lay back down. I go to doze off. And as I go to doze off, I start hearing these voices right outside the door. Now, remember, the door is maybe an arm's length distance from me. And there's a small porch. And it's like, you ever hear the voice Charlie Brown's teacher on the cartoons?
Yeah, wow, 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 wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. It's like, wow, wow, wow. And I'm like, what in the world are they saying? And I'm trying to hear it. And I can't understand what they're saying. And it goes on
outside.
And it's outside, yeah. And it goes,
Okay.
But it's right outside the front door.
Right. Okay.
And it goes on for maybe 20 seconds. And then I hear a car start up and drive off. So I'm thinking, well, they're just people outside talking,
Yeah.
And so I lay back down and I'm about to doze off. And it's got one of those old air conditioners. When it turns on, it goes boom, and it
right
to start processing. And I'm about to doze off, and that air conditioner goes off, and it wakes me right up. And I look around, and my neck is just burning, like you would scratch yourself so much. You know how it would burn so much. My neck on the left-hand side was just burning so bad. I was like, what in the world? What happened to me? And I couldn't understand why my neck was burning so bad, because I didn't feel that while I was trying to doze off. And then when I get woke up by this air conditioner going off, my neck is just burning so bad. I'm like, what in the world, man? So I massage my neck a little bit. I'm laying back down. And I pull the cover up to my shoulder. And as I'm laying back down, I look around the trailer, and I look at the clock, and it's 5:35 on the clock. There's a clock on the TV. I had a TV with a little clock on it. It's 5:35. I look through the kitchen. Everything's fine. His bedroom door is closed. Okay. I lay back down. I start hearing footsteps. And I'm laying on my side, and I got my eye like this, and I start hearing footsteps. And the next thing I know, that little entity is standing right over me, and I can see him just like this. And he doesn't touch me or anything, but I'm like this. And I saw him briefly, and I closed my eyes because I got so scared. And then, and you talk about goosebump sensation. I mean, it was like all kinds of just goosebumps, and it just floated all down my body.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and it was like as he was walking or floating or whatever he was doing, the goosebumps just went with him. And I was laying there, and I was like, oh my God. And not even 2 seconds later, when I got the courage to, I looked up, and his bedroom door was wide open. I didn't hear it.
Oh.
I didn't hear it open up or anything. His bedroom door was wide open. Clock was 5:38. I jumped up. I walked in the room. Him and his wife are in the covers, asleep. And I say, hey, we're leaving. We're out. I'm getting these guys up. We're out because this thing's messing with me here. And I'm not dealing with it. And so like, what? Do what? What? I said, your little ghost, man, he's been messing with me for the last 3 hours, man. I'm done with this, man. I'm out. So we got together and left. Okay. And so we get down the road about an hour, and his wife called me, and she said, hey, Atwood, I want you to know something. I said, what? She said, today I saw that ghost for the first time ever. And I said, okay. And she said, he was standing right beside you when you came in and woke us up to tell us that we were leaving, that you were leaving.
Oh,
But I didn't see him. She said he was standing right beside of my left hand. And when she was looking at me, she could see him.
oh,
But
wow.
I didn't see him at that point. But I saw him when it was like he was peeking at me or something, you know?
Yeah,
But he was right here. And I saw him and he just floated down. I closed my eyes and he floated down. And I'm telling you, though, the most intense feeling of goosebumps. Just, and it
that's
floated
really interesting.
all down my body, man, all down the left side of my body because I was laying on my right side, all down the left side. And it took me a second to process it, like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then so I looked up, about 2 seconds later, and his door was wide open.
When you saw the entity, was it sort of in the corner of your eyesight, like because you're laying down and you're kind of looking up?
Yeah,
Was
it
the
was. Yeah, it was like so. I guess I got my left eye turned up, and I could
yeah,
see him right here, but it was a split second. It was like whoom, and I was like, oh, because I realized exactly what it was.
right,
The goosebumps and everything else. I don't know, but it was just so much sensation in the goosebumps.
yeah,
And maybe that was because I was scared. I don't know, but I think there was more to it because it floated all down my body as he went away.
yeah.
And and so yeah, but then after that, a few days later, he calls me where he's home from work. He said, "Man, I came home. You're not gonna believe this, man. I came home and I fixed myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and took a bite out of it, sat it down, realized I didn't pour anything to drink, poured myself a Mountain Dew, went back to get my sandwich, and it was gone. And there's nobody home. He didn't have any dogs or animals that could have got it. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich is taken, gone.
Wow.
Yeah." Called me one morning about 4 o'clock in the morning, and she said, "Atwood, I'm so scared. I've got all my kids in the bed with me, and somebody's in there playing the guitar on their video game." And I could hear in the background the music being played back there, and I never got scared because she had grown familiar and comfortable,
Yeah.
knowing that she had this ghost living in her house. And she got so scared at that occasion that the next morning she actually came home, back to North Carolina for a few days. But yeah, that's the occasion that I saw a little ghost. And I always told him you should try to find out what's going on with that story because obviously there's something there with that little guy. He may have died in that house or something.
God, yeah, that's so creepy. When you when you were basically like, I've had enough, I'm leaving, and you went into their room to tell them, could you in the madness when you were kind of telling them this is what I'm doing, I'm leaving, did it register in hindsight that like, she looked kind of freaked out or spooked or not so much?
Not really. Because when I was telling her that, she actually started giggling a little bit and said, "Oh, just go lay down. You'll be okay. We deal with this
Oh,
stuff all the time. It's okay. You're all right." And I was like, "No. I'm out of here. I'm not used to this. I'm not. But I said, "No, we're out." And so at that point, she was quiet and she was just laying down and
okay.
looking. And I didn't. Nothing registered to me that she was seeing something
Gotcha.
extraordinary. Yeah. So, but
Wow, that is.
no,
Did she ever describe the entity to you afterwards, or kind of what it looked
no,
like? No.
no, we never really talked about it because I saw that picture and I had an idea of what um, he looked like, and that was really what registered in my eyesight when he came over me because it was I don't want to say it was like he had long hair, but it's not but it's not like looking at a person. It was like a transparency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
And and like I said, it was a split second. I knew what I was looking at. I got scared. I closed my eye, and he floated down.
Wow.
And about 2 seconds later, I look up. Door's wide open.
I think you were talking about it about kind of it's kind of a goosebump feeling, but
Yeah.
you also kind of mentioned like a slightly electrical feeling
Yeah.
because that's kind of what investigators do. They measure things that are in so I mean, I'm gonna butcher this. I don't know much about that world, but I think they measure these things with EVPs and things. So
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that those two. I think you're onto something when we're kind of equating the two. So that's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Well, that's just what it felt like,
Yeah, yeah.
and man, it freaked me out, man. But man, and I told, I felt like that ghost had attached himself to and would follow him around. And maybe I'm wrong, but and he has since moved, and I don't think they have any more issues with it. But
Right.
yeah, but I definitely know what I saw that day and felt that day.
Yeah, that's enough, and that's enough for like one lifetime, right?
Yeah,
That's definitely enough. Um, and I'm sorry to backtrack, but how long ago would that have been now? That experience?
that would have been around 2015, 2016.
Okay.
I'd say, yeah, it'd be about 2015.
Wow. Yeah. So not that long ago, really, in the
No,
grand scheme of things.
yeah,
Okay. Yep. And that was the story that you told that got me really interested. I like this guy because
yeah,
he's telling really scary stories, and he. But the cool thing was, while it wasn't something that you were really passionate about, you were also kind of like, I've seen it and I believe it and it
yeah,
happened. You were coming from a place of like, I'm a reasonable guy, and this isn't like a hobby of mine, but I've seen it and it happened.
right.
Very, very, to the facts.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to go out and try to pursue haunted places and see if I can have some kind of experience. That's not who I am at all. I in stopping at his house on that road trip that day, I was telling myself this kind of stupid idea, but we actually didn't stop with the idea of being there so long. We were actually just stopping for a quick visit, and then we were
Yeah.
going to leave and head our way, and then 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock becomes 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Next thing you know, so some more story about that. Having that kid, one of my other former wrestlers who, when we need a babysitter, he'd go babysit for sometimes. He would catch his son talking to somebody, and he'd walk in. "Who are you talking to, buddy?" And there'd be nobody. And
Oh yeah.
then there'd be times when he'd have his son sitting in his lap, and his son is carrying on a conversation with somebody to his left, and he'd be sitting in front of the TV, but there would be no reflection of anybody that he's talking to. And it was so obvious that his son was having this back and forth of some kind with another person other than who the babysitter was, just so
Right.
there was just a lot was going on there. I had a pretty neat experience last summer.
Okay.
It's not paranormal. It's just kind of freaky a little bit. I took a road trip last summer with some friends. We went to Chicago, and along the way we stopped in West Virginia because my friend Paul's son wanted to go to the Mothman Museum.
Oh yeah.
And I was
Okay.
like, and I didn't know who the Mothman was. I'd never even heard of it before. I was like, "Oh, Mothman? What are you talking about? Who's the Mothman?" And so he starts telling me all these stories, yeah. I'm like, "What in the world?" So, all right, we go to Point Pleasant, or Pleasant Point, whatever it is, West Virginia. We stop to go to the Mothman Museum, and I'm in there reading all these handwritten letters from these locals from the '60s where they saw this Mothman, and they were describing that, this and all that. We end up leaving there, and we go to Chicago. And remember now, 2 days prior to this, I never even knew who Mothman was. Never heard of Mothman or anything.
Right.
And So now I know who Mothman is, and I'm intrigued by the Men in Black. That's all, that's the only thing that really intrigued me about it,
Right.
because it's all interesting to read. But and so I'm in downtown Chicago, and I'm walking around, and my friends, they're into these collectibles. They like to go to these little collectible shops and buy these old dolls and all that stuff, and I'm not really into that. So we went to this place, and they're in there, and it's such a congested place and so dusty. I said, you know what, man, I'm just going to go walk around a little bit, and I'll be back in about 20 minutes. And as I'm walking down the street in Chicago, you know how people write their name in the cement,
Right.
Walk, when it's wet, so it dries up, it's there forever. I'm walking by, and I look down, and in one of those blocks by itself, written in concrete, Mothman. Like, what in the world? Here, I've never heard of Mothman before, and I go to the Mothman Museum in West Virginia, 500 miles away, and now I'm walking around downtown Chicago in a block written by itself, Mothman. I just thought, what in the world, man? This is crazy. What's going on?
That's a pretty big coincidence, right?
I know.
Like, yeah.
And of course, that's all I could talk about for the rest of the trip was, man, I can't believe I saw that Mothman, that block of cement with the word Mothman written in it. It was just crazy. And 2 days before, I didn't even know who Mothman. I mean, if I had never went to that Mothman museum or whatever, and I'd have read that, I'd have been, what's that? What's Mothman?
Yeah, if you had seen that in West Virginia, okay, that would have been one thing, because
Right.
that's kind of the epicenter. But Chicago, which is
I've actually done some more reading about Mothman sightings and all that, and there were supposedly some Mothman sightings in Chicago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought they were.
and in Russia. There've been quite a few of them in Russia. So
Okay.
yeah, but
Yeah, the West Virginia, I believe it was the big bridge collapse that they had there, which killed really tragic. God, I can't remember when that was. Was that like in the 40s or 50s?
No, it was about the 60s. Like,
was it in the 60s?
Or 69? Okay. Yeah, because some theory is that Mothman may have died because the Mothman was trying to forewarn about the bridge collapse and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Some movie Richard Gere did, Mothman Prophecies or something, that might have something, that has something to do with that too. So.
What you have shared, definitely appreciate you taking the time to share it with us. I still got some chills, thinking about the boy kind of peeking down over you.
It was,
yeah,
man, it freaked me out, but he obviously didn't mean any harm.
Right.
And
just curious, maybe.
Yeah, just curious. Who's this big guy laying on my floor here? but I appreciate you having me on and listen to what I had to say. I love talking about that stuff to people that like listen to it, because it's a unique experience that I had, and it's real. It's not made up. It's not contrived. And
Absolutely.
I like sharing it. Doesn't make me crazy. Just makes me.
Nope.
Yeah. So, and one day if I ever run for political office, somebody will pull this up. Say, "Oh, look at this guy. He's crazy." But no, I'm not. It really happened.
Well, if this is the worst they find on you, then that's
right.
Thanks so much, Maurice. I'll let you get on to your day, but thanks for taking the time. It was great to chat with you more. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You have a great day, William.
Hey everyone, William here. Special thanks to Maurice for taking the time to share his story and his experiences with us. And thank you for taking the time to watch the video and for checking out the channel. If you have experiences that you would like to share, please contact me at williamscary2112@yahoo.com and follow me on X at William_scary. I would love to hear from you. If you like what you see and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave me a comment. And as always, stay tuned for more scary things.